answer any question about transactions made by end users? Amazon CloudWatch Application Signals traces 100% of transactions, helping you find and remove user pain points faster and with more flexibility. Know it all and fix it fast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the AWS Cloud Operations Show. I am your host today, Andres Silva, and we have a great show for you today. Thanks for joining. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by Joe Aliotto. Thanks for being here, Joe.
Yeah, super happy to be here.
Awesome. So we have something very nice planned. As you saw probably in the banner, we're going to talk about the road to reInvent. And as part of that, we're going to cover a couple of new features that were recently released. So let me explain to you first the idea of what this whole thing about road to reInvent. So every year, as we get close to our reInvent conference in Vegas, which will start November 30. So leading up to that date, there's a lot of new features that are released and culminating with the big releases that we have at reInvent every year. So what we decided to do is cover a few of the releases that are happening before there so that they don't get lost, right? So yeah, so that's the idea. We're going to be doing this on some of the shows, starting with this one, and we'll see how many we can do of those in the next what do we have left? 1 month, roughly?
Oh yeah, just about a little more than that. Yeah.
There you go. So so today we are going to talk about two features, right? One of them is called Application Map, and the other one is called CloudWatch Investigations Incident Report. And I invited Joe because Joe has some cool demos that he's been doing for customers, and they work very well. Mine don't work that well, so I invited Joe because he's work better, and we will have better results. So we're gonna talk about those two things. Are we ready, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to it.
All right. So let me paint the scenario for you, Joe, and our audience, so we have an idea of when we talk about application map. This is something we frequently hear from our customers. So if you're running a modern application in AWS, think about microservices, multiple microservices, sometimes hundreds of microservices. Then you have databases, you have external APIs, you have all kinds of stuff. And your team split across different, groups of those services. When something breaks, what happens?
What do you do? How do you track that? How do you see it? What is going on? Where do we start? That's what happens.
Exactly. And the thing is also there's no single source of truth, right? The front end has their mental model, the back end has their mental model, platform team has their mental model, and you find yourself in the middle of all that trying to figure out, what's failing, what are the dependencies of this, how can I figure out what those dependencies are, right? So it's kind of difficult. I'm sure you've heard a lot of that with customer conversations, right, Joe?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have conversations all the time with customers that are, running distributed applications, and they feel the pain of trying to understand what's going on, not just for the individual applications, but kind of between them, or, even sometimes their production applications for various services. Like, how do we track this? How can we easily kind of see what's going on? Or is there something wrong somewhere? Mm-hmm. Like, without having to be like, let me go dive into the logs or look at some metrics, sometimes abstract, mm-hmm. especially if it's just infrastructure metrics, like, hey, right. High CPU utilization. Well, what does that mean for my business and my services? Oh, yeah. Right? What is it? What instance has it? Is what's it related to? That doesn't really answer it. So that's where some of what we can show you in like application map and how that's a part of application signals ties that all together, like from the top down instead of the bottom up.
Exactly. Nice. So, and I think as humans, we are very, it's easier for us to see or understand things when they're visual, right? So yeah. We already have some services that provide that some of that visualization, right? But I think application map is super cool because it allows us to focus on the things that we really care about and expand from there, right? So that's cool. All right, well, let's stop talking, right? People love to see the demo. So let Let me bring up the screen, Joe, so you can tell us a little bit about
Sure. Boom.
application map.
Awesome. Yeah. So just a little background of me. I'll give a little history before we jump in. So my name's Joe Aliotto. I am a cloud ops specialist solutions architect here at AWS. I cover all customers in North America with a focus on ISV customers. So those are like our partners that you'll find on the marketplace. And so with that, I talk a lot about observability. So I talk about observability monitoring, governance compliance, and also centralized operations management. But observability is such a big piece with a lot of the customers that I'm talking to that have this problem. So I like to show rather than tell.
How rude of me that I didn't let you present yourself. I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'll do it myself. It's fine. All right. So let's just get in. I like show and tell. Like I actually prefer presentations that have video or in the console as opposed to just screenshots. Because when you can actually see things happening and talk about it, I retain that better. I can understand that better. That's how my mind works too. So we're in CloudWatch now, CloudWatch, and we have two things, right? So we have application signals, which has a ton of different services. And then we have this new application map that's inside that. So I'm going to go ahead and start there. Or actually, you know what? I'm going to take a detour first. Because before you even have what's in application map, you kind of need to understand, have your services instrumented. I'm not going to dive deep into this at the moment, but from within here in application signals for my services, these are all the services that I have instrumented today, right? So that we can see them, we can see what the application's doing. I have a ton of healthy, unhealthy services. And this view is great for when you want to dive deeper into the one service, but you have a lot on the screen right now, right? There's a lot of data, there's a lot of text, a lot of stuff to look through, which is really great when you need to start diving deeper and understand what's going on, whether it's in a single account or cross account, however, manage it all from one place in your monitor.
And maybe we should explain that the reason why you're there, Joe, is because application map is part of application signals, which is our application performance monitoring feature within CloudWatch, right?
That's correct. So in application signals, and this is our application performance monitoring. So when you think of application performance monitoring as opposed to infrastructure monitoring is like bottom up, where you're looking at the infrastructure, the CPU, the memory, the disk. Application performance monitoring is like top down, like reference from the OSI model, right? The application layer. So you're looking at the actual applications themselves, starting to get metrics, and then you can trace it back down as you go through from the standpoint of how you're looking at it. But infrastructure monitoring is good to kind of understand what the bones are doing and the muscle on that side. But application performance monitoring is really what the experience is for the users and the services that are running. So it's easier to do the correlation with that and then find where maybe you have an issue going from the top down to the infrastructure. Then, I have high CPU utilization. What does that mean? What service is impacted? What experience is having a problem? I don't know. I have high CPU utilization, right? As opposed to saying, hey, our retail service is receiving, 2 times the latency it should for this specific service dependency that's calling DynamoDB to delete an item. That's very specific. That there's something going on with that. So that's kind of the difference of how things are correlated.
And you are focusing on what the customer is experiencing, which is
exactly
the important part, right? Yeah. Very good. That's a nice definition. I like it. I love it. I'm going to use it, Joe.
All right, good. I'm here to help. Anyone that wants help, I'm here. Take anything I say. It's fine. It's not trademarked. Awesome. So now that we've kind of seen this view, we haven't dove into here. We will later. But now that your services are instrumented, right? Let's get a bit of a cleaner, crisper view on what's going on across those services. And that's where we have application map. I'll zoom. Let me actually close this a little bit. I'm gonna full screen for a little bit more space. And so what we have is we see a list of our services that we have, right? We can see some of these are in red, which red is usually alert, something's happening. We could see here's this application. We could see how many requests it's had in the past 3 hours, depending on the time you put in here. We can see how many services are made up of this. And we can see we have a SLI breach, these red ones, like a service level indicator that we've defined, right? As this is unacceptable for an application, whether that's related to internal service level objectives we have, but those service level objectives can also be directly related to any service level agreements that we've made with our customers for service and the interactions. And so that's really important. We'll dive a little bit more into that later, but it gives you a really good bird's eye view of like what's going on across all your services. But,
so this is very bad what I'm seeing, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I am terrible performing applications right now. Like it is, they like those guys. I don't even know why that's happening. So that's what we're going to find out today. But what's kind of the beauty with what we have here, right? Like we have our services, and this is a limited set, right? We have 9 services, but when you're talking hundreds or thousands of services you're working with, you want to be able to isolate to what matters quickly.
Of course.
Right. And there's various ways to do that. So I'm going to kind of go almost like backwards through this tree because I kind of like the experience of seeing how we go through it. So one of the things, and I don't have it at the moment, if you've done a deployment recently, like in the past hour, 8 hours, or a day, application signals can capture that. Right, that deployment, and you can be like, oh, our retail service is having an issue. Has there been a deployment done in the past hour? And I can check this. Nothing's been changed in the past hour, so I'm not gonna see that. But if it was, it would show just what had changed recently. You're like, oh, someone obviously did a change. Let's go find out what's going on and who made that change and what changed. Right. But additionally, if you have things that are breaching SLIs, I click the button, it focuses in on that. It'll put them kind of back together.
In the front,
same thing for any of these, right? I start to collect them, and it shows you exactly what you want to focus on, kind of removes what isn't, and it brings it to the center so you can start to understand what's going on. You can also look at the different platforms they're running on if that matters for you, like, hey, which ones are my Lambda services? Right? Which ones are my EKS services? Like it gives you a good idea if you do have an application that is multi-platform. And you use it, maybe you use Lambda to scale for burst and you have it route that way, and normally it's running on EKS, but like it's just a random example, right? There's just different reasons or ways that you could use that.
Like you said, right? In normal environments, you're going to have hundreds, maybe even thousands of these. So having that filter functionality is super important. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and here's where it gets even better, right? So I showed you kind of how I use that filter so you could see it. We have a few things here, but here's where it gets really powerful. You can create these managed groups, okay? These managed groups are defined by 2 things, either AWS tags, or better yet, that I like is also OTel resource attributes. So open telemetry resource attributes that you can define for what your service is, right? And so you can create these, which application signals is going to be able to discover either the tags that are on the service or those OTel resource attributes, and then you can start to filter the applications you want to see. So for example, if I want to see my environment tag, I can look at my production services or my development services. I can see there's issues with production, right? So now that I know that, I can go in here and I can see my production services. I can then do the same thing we showed earlier, like which ones are breaching. We can see that, right? Which ones are having, I don't have any 400 errors. Do I have any 500 errors? I do. And it's on my database connection specifically. So that might be a real problem with our application. And you're able to start to see that and dive a bit deeper into what's going on.
Yeah.
So like bird's eye view, you can kind of snap to where your issues are happening, but now we need a little bit more context, right? So that's where this view insights come in. And so once we click on this view insights, we're given a little bit more information. We can see, hey, here's the service that's running. It's in Lambda. We can view the monitoring account. We can view the region. We can see some health that's happening here. We also can get some operational audits. I'll show another one that has more operational audits than this. But this one is giving some service quota information here about the Lambda. And then it's also loading different metrics that we can reference here for like request and availability, latency. These are things that are related to the filters we saw earlier over here, right? Same things.
Yeah.
Additionally, for any of those metrics, you can take some additional actions. You can kick off a CloudWatch investigation, right? Which is awesome. You can do that with basically any metrics in a console. You find metrics somewhere, you can kick off an investigation. You can view it directly in metrics. It'll take you to the metrics pane. You can go to logs to start searching through those logs, or potentially just go to your account dashboard. So these are all really handy ways to kind of get into there. Additionally, if I view more details, this takes me directly to what we were talking about earlier, the application signals page.
The services, yeah.
Yeah, in the services view. So I'm going to come over here so we can see it. We see it's services, but I'm going to pop this back open. It took us directly to that service page. So they're like, okay, we know there's an issue. We need to dive deeper and understand what is going on. Okay, so this is where, now that we've identified, hey, there's a problem with this service, we've jumped into the service itself, and we can start to dive deeper into, hey, look, here's our dependency for PostgreSQL that's already having an issue. Right, and from here, we have the operational audit. I'll show another one that has more issues showing up than this one, but it gives you some other metrics that we were seeing directly in application map. If you notice, these are the exact same 4 boxes we were seeing in application map for our service. And so that just kind of puts it together. So you already know something's going on. We know there's something wrong with the dependency, right? But we can also jump in here and we could just take a look at the service level. So this is running on Lambda. The service operation is directly in Lambda for what we're seeing right here. We can see like the dependencies that are occurring, the different levels of common latency, P50, P90, P99, right? Is it like, what is half of the customer experience looking like, 90% of the customer experience, or 99% of the customer experience looking like? Generally, when it comes to optimizing your applications, focus on what most of your customers are experiencing, right? You can see the number of requests, and I'm not seeing any faults or errors here on like Lambda itself executing. Right. So I know it's not specifically with the service, but let's look at some of those dependencies, right? We have the dependencies here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the dependencies. And so what I have here is we have those same requests and availability, the same latency metrics, and the faults and errors. That's like consistent. We're going to just continue to see those. But from within here, I have a few different dependencies. Some that show up unknown. We'll talk about why in a minute. But like, this is actually by design to show you why this can happen. But we can see we have this PostgreSQL dependency. We have this select statement in this example, right? We can see that it's targeting our database. That's our database that we're targeting. We can see those same metrics. We can see the fault rate. That's a pretty high fault rate.
Oh, yeah.
50%. Something is not happy right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to find out why, right? So what I can do is I can come over to my faults, and I can find the little dot somewhere in here and click it.
There you go.
All right. And in here, I'm going to get a list of this correlated spans. So like the transactions, the data related to the transactions that are occurring. And we can see what those span names are. We can see the fault, like the actual span status, the fault, the duration, all that fun stuff. But where the power really is when you start to look at the span data itself, right? Connecting it from application map where we were having some errors.
Right.
Going into application signals to start reviewing more of what's going on with the service, whether it's at like where the application's running or if it's in the application code itself.
Right.
And then being able to, I'll collapse this for a minute, being able to see that end-to-end transaction that's occurring, right? Where we start with the client coming in, we're hitting API gateway. Red is generally not a good thing.
Right.
Something's wrong there. And then coming through there to my Lambda and then to my service, which there's that unknown we saw before, and some PostgreSQL is showing some red, that 50% fault rate. What's going on?
And what we're seeing here, right, Joe, is that the specific span, right, of that transaction that you are analyzing right now, which is different than the map, because the map is showing you the components of your service, and this is going to that specific transaction. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. So the map is like, you can think of it as like a holistic, almost like a bird's eye view of your service and its components down the way, right? And I'll actually show you a more complicated one in just a minute as well.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. I'll show you one that's actually using AI agents. That's a travel agent service, and it has MCP servers and authentication, like Lambda authorized, all kind of fun stuff. And it has a much more detailed map of what's happening than the simple applications I'm showing. Awesome. But within here, then you can start to come down and look for what's happening is across all the spans, right? I'm not going to go too deep into Span's timeline. If you've seen them before, like, it looks familiar. If you haven't, it looks very scary. There's a lot of detail, a lot of colors that overlap. Red is usually bad. Green is usually good.
Right.
You know, stop and look at this if it's red, or just keep going if it's green.
Yeah.
And so we can see there's that select statement, right?
Yeah.
We can see that it was happening on that cluster, right? We could see that retail prod cluster. We can jump straight to our database and database insights if we want to directly from that. I can see the SQL that it was using when it was making that call, just a very simple statement here, a random thing. But we can also see, which I think is the important thing, like, how long was that call taking, right? We can see that. This unknown remote operation is actually because I'm just using auto instrumentation with OpenTelemetry, and it's not capturing some of the actions that are taken fully with the name. But if you look, it's DNS lookups that are happening over TCP, right? Like, we can actually see what it is, but the name itself wasn't there because the span's by default.
So that unknown, is that the DNS server or the path to the DNS server?
Yeah, it's the actions taking doing the DNS lookup.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so, but within here, we also have an exception that was thrown specifically from our Lambda function. We can see this is in our Lambda function itself, this orders query we were doing. And if we go here, it jumps us straight to the exception. We can look at this specific Lambda function, right, at line 96 in our code, and we'll find the exact function that is causing the issue. Right. I'm not going to dive into the code to troubleshoot why that is now. It's not pretty code, I promise. But this does give you where you need to go to as long as your code is throwing that exception. Yeah. Right. And you don't need to be the person that owns the application. You can say, hey, we're getting exceptions from your application that's showing specifically on 96. This is the reason why it's happening.
Right. Go pinpoint the issue. And I was thinking about what you said earlier about those grouping and filter, that you could filter them by release, right? And if that's the case, you can get all the way down to the piece of code that maybe was causing the issue and point it out and say, hey, this broke the service, right? You need to go fix it, or I need to fix it myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I got us back to application map for a minute. So another thing you can do is, if you have one of these views where you have, like, hey, I'm looking at my environments, I want to look at production. You can also choose to save this view, right? So you can be like, you know, my prod applications, right? And you can make that the default view, right? So whenever you load it up, it's always going to show that, because you know that's the most critical thing you want to look at. Not necessarily all those other ones, but just like the view of the most important services you need to review. And then if you need to look at something else, you can. You
can navigate. But is that for you as a user, right? Like, another user comes in and they'll be able to save their own, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't think that they're shared views at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. PFR, product feature request, shared views organizationally. Let's go.
There you go.
And so you can save those and then start filtering. But with that said, one thing I want to show before we maybe move on to the next thing is, let me go back. I'm going to go back to related services. Two things. So this ordering service. So in my ordering service that I have here, I had various, is it not showing up in this one? Maybe it's, hold on. Let me just make sure I'm selecting the one that I want to see.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one it is. I have so many. I was looking for some of the health events that were happening. Let's see.
Oh, gotcha. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see it at the moment, but
don't you have to then change the time span?
It's still 3 hours, so it should show up. But
gotcha.
I may not have those issues at the moment, which is fine. But what I'm going to show you here is, this is actually a travel agent that I have that is running on Lambda, right? You can see that this is running on Lambda, but it's a Strands agent that is has Lambda authorizers that are set up. You can see that we're also using Cognito. You can see the model requests that are in here. I don't have any errors because I haven't been using it much recently. But if you started to see like throttles per se for your model, you could very easily see that your model is throttling you in the same way where you're getting like the 400 errors, right? And you'd be able to jump to that immediately, be like, oh, we actually are getting throttled in this, and we need to start looking at the volume that we have, or do we need more provisioned, like actual throughput for the models if it's running in Bedrock, or what we need to do.
I one of my demos that I have, I do something similar. I have it in Agent Core, and no, of course, if you hammer it with like hundreds of requests, you'll see the throttle, and it doesn't look pretty. But yeah, because Bedrock and Agent Core, they will stop you so that you don't overwhelm the API. So yeah, that comes in very handy if you can see that there. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's kind of application map in a nutshell, right? It's a bird's eye view into your application, so you can find out what's going wrong, where it's going wrong, tie it back into diving deeper into application signals to find the exact thing that's going wrong, and we can go from there.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's something that you can just, it's already there. If you log in and you're using application signals, you're going to see this new feature. It's not something that you have to configure or add any roles. It's just a different view of what you already have, right? And we're leveraging the same instrumentation that was already there. And of course, is the price is included in the already the price that customers pay for application signals. So this is an awesome add-on feature that that customers will have access to now. That's great. Okay, so that's the application map. If you have questions, feel free to post them in the chat. Okay, let's move then to our next point, or our next feature that we want to talk about, and it is incident reports for CloudWatch investigations. Joe, you want to tell us a little bit about what incidents what's the problem that incident reports solves?
Yeah. So incident reports. Okay. Little background. I've been in like operations like most of my life. Even though I set up a lot of infrastructure, I've managed a lot of operations for 20 something years at this point. So whenever you have some sort of incident, right? Sometimes you need an RCA, you need to do like a post-incident report for management. You need to capture like what, when, where, why these things happen, what was done to resolve it, what mitigating actions are we taking so that this never happens again. And you need to know, how are we resolving this, in the near term? How are we resolving this in like the medium long term? How are we ensuring it doesn't happen again?
Right.
And how did it impact the business? Right.
Right.
All of these things take so much time to put together. Like I would say hours, but in a lot of cases, in my experiences, it can be days.
Yeah. Exactly.
If you don't understand it, it can literally take you days to collect everything and be like, okay, when did this incident recur? Can I find the right metrics that did that? Or when did a customer first tell us? And then if a customer's telling us, we know it's before they told us. Yeah. When did it happen? And so let's see if we can pinpoint the exact time this happened. And it's a lot of discovery. It's a lot of time that you have to spend collecting all that, putting your timelines together, understanding like how long did it take you, not the mean time, but the time to detect, the time to resolve, and also the time to mitigate so it never happens again. Exactly. It takes a lot of effort. It is overwhelming at times, especially after a major incident that has happened.
So it's and just a little, and I forgot to do this, a little bit of level setting on CloudWatch investigations. If you want to see all the features we had, Jared Nance, the principal engineer on the first episode of the show, he was explaining everything about it, and we did a demo. We're not going to do another demo now, but it's this new feature it's GA already, and allows you to simplify the process of doing an operational investigation by leveraging generative AI and some AI ML features that we have. Essentially surfaces automatically logs, metrics, traces, AWS health events, CloudTrail events that might be contributing to the issue that you have. But the cool thing is that you can also add documentation as you investigate. Yeah. And it was funny because when I was doing some of these demos and customers saw what was being outputted, they would always say, hey, can we copy that? Can we put it in a report? They always ask me that question, can we put it on a report? And it's obvious that customers saw the value of the data that was being inputted into the investigation, and also the value of the data that the system was outputting, right? Yeah. So that's why, I think Joe is excited. I'm very excited about this feature. What we heard from customers Actually, I was telling Joe before the show, I demoed it to a customer yesterday, and they were super excited about it when they saw what it could do. So we're excited to show it to you, right? So
Yeah,
let's dive into it. Let me put back the screen for you, Joe, so you can take us through it.
absolutely. All right, so I'm in CloudWatch again. We're in CloudWatch. We're living in CloudWatch today.
Yeah.
But in this AI operations section, this is where CloudWatch Investigations lives, in investigations, right? From here, I'm not going to open one that I've already done, but I'm going to show you a couple of things before we talk about a scenario that's occurring at the moment. Right now, it's happening. So right now, it's showing you like a few alarms. Hey, some funny behaviors happening. Yep. Maybe this is something you want to investigate, right? Try it out with the ones that you have firing right now. We're not going to do that, but it gives you some insight into it.
Right.
But what we have is we can create an investigation. We can do it from a log insights query where we're querying logs. We're seeing some strange behavior, some strange patterns that are occurring. You can have some metrics you're keying in off, whether that's infrastructure related metrics or application layer metrics that you've defined as a part of like application signals or custom metrics that you've put out, right, for your applications, any metrics you have, or from alarms, right? If you have an alarm that's firing, you can choose to do an investigation or potentially set up the investigation to kick off when that alarm fires.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the beauty of that is if you have something you want to investigate that's like a critical alarm, and kind of taking a step into it. If you're looking at infrastructure, maybe you have a composite alarm that's putting together, multiple different metrics and comparing them to say, hey, when this and this fires, we know it's an issue. Not just if that one thing, that one thing, like just CPU utilization, maybe in this instance, it's not as impactful as, CPU and disk being firing, because this is a disk heavy operation. But we're not able to process unless, if the disk is high and the CPU is high, it's a problem. But if the disk is low and the CPU is high, it's fine. And so being able to leverage like impactful alerts that lower the noise, that you can then be like, yes, let's actually investigate this, can really help you.
Yep.
So, but I'm not doing any of these. I'm actually going to show you something that I think is a bit more real world from the conversations I've had.
All right.
So we were talking about application performance monitoring, application signals, right?
Yep.
That's top down. That's like monitoring the service and, user experience with like latency or availability being like how long it takes for those different operations or dependencies, or latency or, availability. Are there faults or errors that are occurring, right? So someone just reached out to me, right? And they're saying, hey, something's going on with the ordering service, but it's like, we can't replicate the problem. Like, we don't know, like we're hearing that sometimes when customers are trying to view their order, that it's not working, but like they try it again and it does. And then they can like keep refreshing and it keeps working. But like, we're not sure why we're having this intermittent issue and we're having a hard time figuring it out. And so I have my ordering service here. And within my ordering service, I can see, there is a dependency that's having some faults right now. Okay. Okay. I can see, hey, I have a dependency latency issue. I don't know if it's latency related because it sounds like a failure, like more of a fault, not just something taking a long time, unless there's like a timeout. But like, I can see, hey, there is some latency going on with my ordering service. I can see it here. I can see there's a few faults. I can jump right to these by clicking on it. This is taking me to my service operation. Right. I can see my get orders is unhealthy. I have a 3% failure rate. This was working fine, like, I don't know, 45 minutes ago. It wasn't a problem. Look, we can see it. Like, everything was fine. What happened? I was like, I'm not sure. What I want to do is like, I want some help. I want a buddy to come and troubleshoot this with me. So because I have that SLO I created, that service level objective, right? I'm able to kick off an investigation. And so I'm going to do that, and it's going to start leveraging what I have for that SLO. And so I'm going to be like, in here, I'll be like, the ordering service is seeing a 3% fault rate for the past 45 minutes, right? And I can add some additional notes for context so it knows. I can just be like, this application runs on API gateway API Gateway, Lambda, and DynamoDB because I have some knowledge on my application.
Sure. And that's important because for a number of reasons, right? Because if somebody is collaborating with you and they're going to jump in, the more information that you put here and they see in the investigation, the more that they can help, right? And it also the backend also leverages these notes to try to figure out what's going on. So you are a very thorough note taker. I see, Joe. Very good.
I like adding a lot of details because those have saved me many times. So I'm just trying to give it some additional context to kick off outside of just the metric, because it's looking at this metric. I wanted to also look at specifically like, hey, this ordering service is in application signals. You don't necessarily need to put that. I'm just putting it because I want to. Something else to notice, if this is something that's been long running, you can select the time that it started. So like if it's beyond the window that it's initially looking at, you could say, hey, this started around, 5 hours ago. And then it'll kick off the investigation looking in that time frame.
In that time period, Very good.
All right, so let's start an investigation. And so now I don't like the compact window. I want a full screen. I'm going to start investigating. And I want to see what the agent's going to do. And so let's go ahead and go over there. We'll give it a second to come up. And something you may have noticed if you've watched the stream, like this stream or this before, or have used CloudWatch investigations and, 1 week ago or greater,
right?
The interface has changed. The experience is totally different. It's not as noisy anymore. It used to be very noisy. Like, and it, with a purpose though, that you could see everything. And so we took that feedback and we cleaned it up so it's a little bit more streamlined. And also, so it's not as much of a black box as it was before. So I'll show you that in a second. But what we have is here's the initial metric that we're investigating. And then it's going to start trying to look at these. Are these related? Well, this is my service. Fault of get orders and API gateways. The faults look a little while ago. They don't look like they're here. I don't know if that's directly related. It looks like it's the right thing, but the faults are not showing up where I want to see them. So I'm not sure if that's related. I'm gonna discard this for now. And then what I'm gonna do is talking about the black box. What is the agent doing? How do we know what it's doing? So this agent queue is something that's fresh out of the box. This is new and it's super cool. So what it starts to do is these top ones are where it starts to plan the analysis. And we'll start seeing planning in these blue sections. And it's going to start going through and analyzing all of the different steps that it's planning in the background to give you those insights that you can then say, hey, that was helpful or that wasn't. And so in the details, right, you can start to see, hey, these are the different things that are going on that it is assuming through this investigation, right? And as this goes, this is going to get longer and longer and start looking at more and start planning more. But you can sort those by different statuses. You can show everything. The plans will just be the blue. The tasks will just be the green ones that they have there that they're investigating. And you can start to filter that out more, right? I'm going to go back to the investigation because you see it took us to the agent queue.
And this is not more. I know. And this is not Joe's beta account, right? So we're not showing anything that hasn't been released.
This is live. This is in your console today.
Which is very exciting. This is pretty cool. I am very impressed with all the new changes they've done on investigation. It's exciting to see that.
It's really awesome because before this used to be a black box. You just get findings. And we heard customers want to know what it's planning, what it's analyzing, what it's doing. So now we do. And you can see it and it's loading and eventually you'll get the details once it's done with that section. But I'll bet I'll start having some more findings now that it's looking at some other things.
Exactly.
And so it has a hypothesis already, right?
Wow.
But that doesn't look correct to me. DynamoDB table performance degradation using get item operation failures. I don't think that's right. I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna say rule out. I'm gonna rule that out. It's not that. I'm gonna look at these 10 new items. Right? Increased DynamoDB latency and gateway analysis reveals this for update items. It's not that because it was my get items. It's definitely not that. I was seeing some issues. I'll discard that for now. But when I can start kind of looking at the different things that it's going to show up. Okay, it's not this one. But what I'm going to do is I don't want it to just do everything. I still want to troubleshoot. This is my helper.
Right.
I'm going to kind of
And I was
take
going to
a
say,
jump.
yeah, and that's important because sometimes I get asked, well, why is it finding that? Well, it's finding that because it's trying to refine the investigation, right? It's like,
Yes.
could this be related? Could this be related? And that's kind of nice because, it's not just making assumptions. It's kind of keeping you in the loop and letting you guide the investigation, which
Yes.
I think is important. Yep.
Yeah. So coming back, like the CloudWatch investigations experience is really like an assistant, an investigation assistant. They're helping you. You're a team together. It's going to be looking at things, and you can be looking at things, and you can give it information so it has more knowledge on where it needs to look.
Yeah.
And right. So I know I have these faults in here. Right. And so I'm like, okay, I have these faults. I want to look at these faults. I want to see what's going on. Oh, let's see what's going on exactly. All right. So what I could do is, I see these faults. I'll look at these faults. I could see some other spans related to that. Ooh, contributors.
Oh, yeah.
Right. What is contributing to these faults?
What is contributing? Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And so I have in here, whoops. Hold on 1 second. I need to be back one. 1 second. Oh, actually, hold on. I think I have 2 of these in here.
2 services?
Yeah, I do. I do have 2 of these in here.
That's what happens in these demo environments. You end up with so much stuff,
I do. Yeah, let me go to the second one. So I have 2 ordering services. I want to actually look at the one.
Hey, are you trying to confuse investigations? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I actually kind of am right now. And so what I have here is I have my actual service is showing a failure here. If I look at my dependencies here, and I take a look, I actually don't have any faults or errors. Right? But I have it at the service. I clicked the wrong button. We're going to go back. Here we go. Service operations. So now that we're here, we're actually seeing it here. This is where we're seeing the intermittent. It looks exactly the same as the other one.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I have in here is now when I look at top contributors, oh, I can see on my Lambda function, I have a production alias. Okay. It's showing across my 18 requests during that time period, I have 77% availability. Okay. What's going on with that alias? What versions are on that alias, right? I have version 1 and version 12. Oh, my new version is failing, right? It's showing like 70%. My old one isn't. Did someone just like roll out a change?
There you go.
Right? Like what's going on? So let me do that. Let me add a quick note. Reviewed the service, and I see it's using the production lambda alias. Version 1 has no errors, and version 12 has a 30% failure rate. Right? So I could start to see that something's wrong with that one version, and it's still planning next steps. I gave it some more information. I can start to look at some of these items. And then let me just kind of go down to the bottom. So SQS, this is definitely not related, right? Anomalies detected across multiple services. I mean, I do have a lot of anomalies right now in my account. So it's not related to that, looking at it holistically, right? There are some faults for this retail service. I'm not looking at the retail service, right? Get rate of utilization. We'll let this kind of cook away with the agent now that I gave it some more information. I can continue to look at maybe what some of the findings are, looking at this get method, right? It'll tell you, hey, we saw this, an increase in get operations. There's nothing significant found. But as it's doing that and it's continuing to look at this, what I can do is I could actually go to that Lambda function and maybe see what's going on, right? While it's still looking for, identifying what the root cause is. And right, that's the reality. You're not going to set it and forget it. It's not like fully autonomous. It really is kind of an assistant to help you along the way. And so what I can do is I can go in here. I can find my ordering service. I know which one it is because I have a lot of canaries. They're showing up there too. And then I can start to actually look at my different versions. And I know, I kind of know because I gave it a thing. I gave it a description. But in
so you
version,
can remember.
yeah, in version 12, we know that they were get item failures that we were seeing, like they were get errors. So maybe what I can do is, now that I'm in my version 12, I can look in my code. We'll let that load. All right, we're getting there.
Yeah.
All right, I can look in my code, and I can, if I maximize this, it'll probably be better. And let's see if I can zoom it a bit. Awesome. I know it's getting orders. So maybe it's my get order section. Oh, and if I look at this and I'm like, wait a second. If I have my alias split up like 50-50 that I saw, and I'm someone left some error simulation stuff in here. Who has this simulated database connection timeout error? Like, okay, someone was doing some testing and they just wanted to kind of validate. This is a random example, obviously, but I'm able to identify where in the code, like something was happening. This should definitely not be in there. Right. But let's go back to CloudWatch investigations, and I'll come back up here, see if we have anything new in here. Let's see, 2 new items, right? So no, I'm going to add another note that
and I was I love that example, right? Because you are not just letting the system do everything, but you're contributing to it. But the cool thing is that some of the things that you're seeing are leading you to find more, right? And then you continue adding. And this is important, right? And I think these notes that you're adding are important for the feature that we're going to talk about, which is incident report, because all those details are going to be super important for that, report later on.
Yes. No, absolutely. And honestly, the issue that we're showing today is kind of one that's a bit more abstract and a little bit more difficult to track down.
Yeah, and you having 2 order services, it's kind of problematic.
It does cause some problems there. But as you go through, when things are not helpful, you can continue to discard those. Right. It's going to keep coming up here. It'll end up coming up with another hypothesis soon. It keeps throwing more of here. Get utilization. I can accept that if I like. Another thing that you can do is, where is it? Is it up here? You can view those discarded. So if you make a mistake,
you can come
and
back.
you discard a section, you can come back in, set it as helpful or restore those. So if there's any of these that you're looking through and you're like, oops, I accidentally discarded the wrong one. I didn't mean to, or I've gotten more information and actually that one is related, right? And you now need to add it back in. You can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back.
Do you have one that is done so we can see?
I do. Let's bake show.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. So
now let me go incident report.
So when maybe it'd be a good idea to kind of walk through typically the process of an investigation. Once you find a hypothesis, and you kind of feel comfortable with it, you can have the option of ending the investigation, right? And once the investigation ends, then you'll be able to go to this portion. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that would probably be the best time to go to this portion,
right?
Because you already have found the hypothesis, you found the cause. Actually, if I go back one, we'll come right back to this, but if I go back one page, I can actually look at my hypothesis that I accepted right in here. So if I expand this, I can see, hey, this is version 2. It actually updated the original hypothesis.
Very nice.
Right. It found the issue. It says what happened. Hey, simulated database connection timeouts. It gives you some likely causes, some suggested actions that you can look at. It's reasoning with supporting data for those reasons, right? What it looked through, the different details it got. It saw these different exceptions that were occurring, right? It gives you this information. That's cool, but like, how do we use this
Right.
for now that report? And that's what we want to look at.
Right.
And so coming back here, and I do the incident report, is what it's going to do is it's going to take all that telemetry that it captured, all those findings, and it's going to start inputting it into these different fields that help us make up the incident report. The agent cannot know about everything.
Right.
Like these are things you're going to have to define, like incident severity. There's no way it would know that.
Right.
You could say, hey, this is a
define, right. You define the impact, or it may be that if you have a very sophisticated implementation of SLAs, you might have them tagged with severity or something else.
Yeah, potentially, yes.
But you're right. It's kind of something that you have to help the system with. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many customers were affected? That's another one. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no way for it to really know unless you had like how many customers use this.
Right,
so we could be like, hey, 50 customers were impacted, right? Total customers, we could say, hey, we have a total of like 1,000 customers.
And these are important. And the reason why we're doing this is because this is data that is gathered to include in the report, right? So completing it and updating it, everywhere you see a little warning sign, it will make the report more complete. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
And so, we could put our percentage in, right? 0.05. We could just put percentage in. And then we can start going through. So the more data that you fill out through here, the better you're going to get. Initial responders, you can put SREs, SREs and support. We'll just save that, right? We start filling this out, escalation path, right? And we can put, support escalated to SREs, which then notified management.
There you go.
Right. And then communication activity, we could save that. We can be like communication used Slack as an example. It could be anything. Use Slack to run an incident channel. Use Slack. I'll just say use Slack to run an incident channel. That's fine. And then as you go through, you can start to go this. It got the root cause. It filled all these out based on what it found. Mitigation. These are things that your actions you're going to take. These are things that haven't happened, right? So mitigation steps, because we had that like having additional review, leveraging Gen AI to review code changes, right? Review the code changes before human reviewer is notified. So not that they're taking any changes, but this is just an action. Hey, we're going to look at it. It's going to summarize what changed, highlight the code, and then let someone review it. So
what happens if you don't fill out some of those?
Yeah, if you don't, there's going to be data that's just missing. It'll say didn't have enough information to fill out this section of it.
Well, we can definitely generate it without filling everything out. Is that
correct?
correct?
No, I'm going to stop here and do it. And so now we're going to click the generate button. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, as it's doing that, I'm going to jump back one and we'll go to one that's complete. Because I don't think waiting for it to generate it is as impactful.
We'll do a little bit of the baking show thing,
Yeah, one more time. All right, ordering service. So there's that one. I think this one is complete. I believe so. And so let me just click on that. Incident report. Our reports are generated. Please accept one before. What's that? Reports are generated based on. Oh, this is definitely not the one then. Is this? Hold on. Maybe it's my other one. 1 second. It's one of these guys. I know I have them in here. That's still just running. We'll come back to that and see if it finishes. I'm trying to remember which one because I've run so many of these recently.
Yeah, that's the problem when you have a demo environment and you have so many that you've done, and then you're trying to locate which one was the one that I did the investigation report on. I don't remember. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna change the name, not change the name, but create one just for the incident report. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, here we go. I got it. So I'm going to collapse this now so we can look at this. So order retrieval service unavailable, right? It gives a background. I can't read this. This thing is massive, but you can copy it and do what you want with it. Just one click copy. But it gives you a background, tells you overall what happened, a summary of the incident, when it started, use the metrics to define actual timeline of events that occurred, which is awesome because the metrics will actually say, hey, these are when the faults occurred. So we know this is when it started to have an issue. It gives the time to detect, like how we detected it, the time to resolve, how long it took us to mitigate it so it didn't happen again based on inputs we put in, the customer impact based on those customer numbers that we put in, right? Where we said like 50 customers out of 10,000, random example.
Yeah.
And this was the impact rate. Blast radius reduction strategy it put in here on things we could do. What went well? We had SLOs that notified us, right? So we were able to take that immediate action to detect it because our SLOs triggered an alarm.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of what it's saying here. Incident response analysis. How did we detect it? How do we diagnose it? How do we mitigate it? How do we communicate? Right? Through Slack, email, ITSM ticket updates, things like that. Depending on what you put in that field, how do we recover? And here's like the actual post-incident analysis. Here's your root cause with some questions like, what was the time to diagnose? How could we diagnose? What testing could we have done to prevent this?
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's recovery or prevention. Again, what the timeline is. The 5 whys. Amazon likes the 5 whys. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why did that happen? Why did that happen? Same type of thing. But if you notice, these are linked to action items. So it actually starts to, down at the bottom, give you some action items you can look at. You can get some lessons learned around detection and monitoring.
This is based on, our own practice internally at Amazon of after an incident doing a cause of errors, right? Which is this very comprehensive report, very similar to the one that incident report generates. This is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of information. Like, think of how long this would take you if you had to generate a report like this. It would take you days to put together a report like this.
Yeah.
And so it just gives so much different information, which you don't have to use all of it, but it's there as potentially available for you to use. And it only takes about 2 minutes to generate once you put in all the inputs, and then it collects all the findings and puts it in.
Yeah.
And then it makes these nice recommendations, right? What are the high priority, medium, and low priority? So high priority, the next 30 days, implement an AI code review system for all pull requests before human review, right? Add database connection pool monitoring because there's like a database issue like that. This was a little bit different, but not all of these may be exactly what you need, but they're a good starting point for like, hey, maybe some of these action items are ones we want to take, and you can keep those. And the ones you don't have to keep, and you can just modify it as you need to. Right. But it gives some good recommendations on what you can take action on and potentially the format of delivering that report, where now you can have a standardized report you deliver to management that is then like easier to consume, and you can just have a form that everyone follows, and you don't have to worry so much about each report being different or having to spin up your own template yourself.
Very nice. That's awesome. And the right way, and I say this because I got a question from a customer earlier today, is, how can I export it? Well, right now it's available through the console, and you just click on that copy button and you paste it into your document, or you paste it whatever you want. I've heard feedback from customers that say it would be nice if we could just have like an automatic action to trigger them, and the service team is hearing that, right? So stay tuned, I would say, right? But that's awesome, Joe. Those two were awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. So just to recap a little bit, we've learned about 2 awesome features. We learned a lot about application map and all the tight integration with application signals, all the cool things you can do to pinpoint the issue, get exactly to the point where you need to, and that way expedite the process of operational troubleshooting. And we also enjoyed your demo, Joe, of Incident Report. I think this is very exciting for customers. And I'm excited for what other things are we going to see on the road to reInvent, which is just a little bit more than a month from now. So anything else you want to share with us, Joe, before we conclude?
Come find me at reInvent. I'll be at the AI Ops booth. I have 4 sessions, and I'll also be at the observability booth in the AWS Village. But I look forward to seeing you all, and look forward to all the cool new drops coming soon.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. If you have questions, if you want to know more about any of these services, feel free to reach out to your account team at AWS. They know how to connect with us, and we'll be more than happy to chat or help you and guide you through leveraging any of these features. Thank you again, and we'll see you on the next one.